welcome all you teachers. I was one for 50 years, so I kind of know what you went through a little bit. The first section of this is called Testing Boys' Voices. It's an important, even vital component of working with boys' voices, don't you think? This process, testing and classifying a boy's voice, can make or break a boy in his own eyes. This process, do it right, and you have a boy singing with you for the rest of the year. He'll even recruit his friends to sing too. Embarrass or belittle a boy, even unintentionally, and you can easily lose that boy. Boys are searching for their identity at this time, at this age, as you know. They will latch on to what makes them feel good about themselves. Your first encounter with a boy is a major event. Probably for the boy, not necessarily for you. A vast majority of the master teachers surveyed in this book. Now this book is called Strategies for Teaching Junior High and Middle School Male Voices. Master Teachers Speak. Now that book is published by Santa Barbara Music Company. Daryl and Nelson, a real good friend and a master teacher, and I put this book together. So I'm very grateful for all of her expertise in the world of teaching. A vast majority of the master teachers surveyed in this book use a piano in the testing process. 3/4 of the teachers utilize their voices as an aid. Half of the teachers use an approach of procedure learned from clinicians, books, or other teachers. As should be expected from creative teachers like those that we surveyed in 7 states, nearly all have developed their own teaching approaches and procedures to meet the needs of their boys. Now I'm going to talk about teacher skills. What does that consist of? Create an atmosphere which welcomes boys' efforts and encourages them at every turn. It's really important. Be positive, always positive. Don't be a negative type. Tell a boy, Frank, you have a fine speaking voice. I'll bet you have a singing voice that is very good too. We'll find it. Keen ears are a must for a teacher. You must be able to hear and identify on the keyboard boys' spoken and sung sounds, sung pitches quickly. If you feel deficient at this, practice on friends. Keyboard facility should allow you to easily play songs and exercises in various keys to fit a boy's particular range. Many middle school and junior high teachers fail in this area. If you cannot do this, ask to have an accompanist. Regrettably, few school budgets allow for this luxury. Your other option is to sing along with each boy at that pitch. Of course, this will be quite wearing on your own voice as you deal with the various ranges. A compromise would be to combine using the keyboard and your singing voice. I would say that would work well for some of you. You must become knowledgeable about the boys' registers and where breaks can be expected. You must be patient and caring. Emphasize with boys who exhibit low self-esteem or who can't find pitches played on or sung to them. Bill, I know this is hard for you, but I also know that you won't give up and that you have a voice hiding in there somewhere, and we'll find it together. Make a chart for keeping track of test results for each boy. Observe any tension in the neck or face. Take note of each boy's level of confidence. Create a flexible procedure that sets up success for every boy, even those with a narrow range or only 4 or 5 notes. Now, what tactics are you going to use to do all this? Stand in a circle and do stretching exercises, calisthenics, and easy echo clapping to relax guys before testing begins. Keep the atmosphere orderly, but maintain a sense of humor. Humor is really important, as you know. Exude confidence in their ability, even if they are nervous and they feel it and respond better. Decide whether you will work with one boy at a time or test in groups of 2 or more. At the beginning of the year, work with boys in groups of 2 or 3. They'll respond better. You want the boys to feel somewhat comfortable. Later on, you can test one-on-one. Have your charts at the keyboard with you, or section of a grand staff into narrow measures for each boy's results on a chalkboard. They need to see that their ranges. In their minds, those notes are a part of their identity, if you can believe it. It's really important. To begin the process, have each boy say hello or his name to establish target pitch areas. Have him sing a melodic pattern on La like do, re, mi, re, do. A brief warm-up or a song like My Country 'Tis of Thee or Jingle Bells, but just use the first verse. If possible, use the keyboard to locate boys' ranges. If you are uncomfortable with that approach, use your singing voice with some help from the keyboard. Write the range and names of the voice categories you use on the chalkboard so that each singer can be involved and informed. You can make all the decisions about the boy's voice part or invite him into the process. Fernando, you should sing the baritone part right now, I believe, or based on your high and low notes, Fred, which voice part do you think you would be comfortable singing? So remember, you're constantly evolving kids. If other boys are present and trust and respect has been established, ask them what they think. Is Justin a tenor too, or is he a baritone? Look at the board. If you are female and uncomfortable with this male colleague explanation to each boy before testing his voice, it would be helpful to have pictures of the larynx, the lungs, and the body skeleton on the walls of your room so you can refer to it. Boys want to know all the details about themselves. Check with your science teacher for any help. Pituitary gland secretions start the process of change. Puberty begins at a genetically determined pace. Tell your boys that each of them is unique, even though the change process through which they go may have common factors. Age is not a determining factor in which change begins. Some boys experience voice change at age 12 or 13. Others at 15 or 16 or even later. The majority of kids, or boys, experience change between age 12 and 14. Physical size does not relate clearly to voice change. A really big guy can have an unchanged voice. He'll talk up here. A small guy may experience voice change earlier and be a baritone among his taller, higher speaking friends. Baby fat drops away, pubic and facial hair appear, muscles develop, lung capacity increases, and the rib cage grows, along with feet and arms. Boys may be very awkward, as you know. The larynx, the voice box, gets larger and may be noticeable. Tarzan-like calls, those are breaks in the voice, may occur when one set of muscles which regulate one register of the voice can't change smoothly to a different set of muscles which regulate another register. This is normal. This is a word that should be in your vocabulary. Normal. Tell guys that really often. Assuming no girls are around, play the donkey sounds game. All guys braying crazily for 15 or 20 seconds. They will love it. That's from Greg Bontrager, a master teacher in Gossel, Kansas. And you'll find me referring to the various voice master teachers here and there as I go along. Spoken voice pitches will descend before the singing voice lowers. A breathy sound, whether speaking or singing, is normal for some boys during the change process because the vocal cords, they're called folds, grow so quickly that the vocal cords don't close completely. Thus, some air may escape. Tell boys not to worry. It's temporary. A clear sound will return. They are normal. Lecture boys on the use of deodorant. Don't forget it, because that happens to boys and they don't even know it's happened. Some haven't learned this. Explain singing as another athletic activity demanding discipline, focus, a tuned-up body, and clear thinking. Preach to these guys. Smoking, drugs, and drinking are very detrimental. There are very detrimental effects on the voice and, as they have probably heard numerous times, on the body. Singing and smoking or drinking do not mix. What's the exact test now? Before you begin, talk briefly to a boy, every boy, as he is being tested before testing, or a group of 2 or 3 boys. Try to put these sometimes fragile young men at ease. Immediately begin listening for target pitch areas and speaking voices. To continue the testing and classification process, you have 2 choices. Begin with a boy speaking or begin with a boy singing. Now, I'm going to first talk about testing process with speaking. All testing should be predicated upon boys experiencing success in learning about themselves and how their voices work. The speaking approach is non-threatening and can be undertaken without boys even realizing they're being tested. The author has begun testing sessions with entire classes of guys, echoing back rather loudly healthy grunts, athletic-like cheers, hoo hoo, let's eat, or questions, for instance, who are you? Well, I'm me. I'm hungry. Mom and Dad hear that often too. The macho thing gets guys' attention. They listen. They think. I like what's happening here. It's crazy, but I like it. A boy's speaking pitch is located 2 to 4 half steps above his lowest sung pitch. A general classification can be made without the boy actually singing. That's really big help for some guys. Though the uppermost sung pitch won't be known until later when he feels more comfortable singing. One of the simplest approaches is to have a boy say hello, or good morning, or his name. The O part of hello on the lowest pitch you can distinguish on a chart or on the chalkboard. Some of you still have the old-fashioned chalkboards. Others will have to use something else, a chart of another type. The Kansas teacher asked a boy if he has had any major changes in his speaking voice. For example, when he's answering the phone. That's Darlene Summerhour from Olathe, Kansas. Rather than matching the spoken pitch on the piano, another teacher has the boy sing, "My name is Terry," on So Mi Lo Sa Mi, choosing the starting pitch after hearing the boy speak his name. That's Suzanne Ayler in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Other teachers ask a boy to count for them 10 backwards or 20 backwards to find his basic speaking pitch. Then the boy is asked to sing a simple melody, a simple melodic pattern. For example, do, re, mi, re, do, beginning on his comfortable speaking pitch and moving up or down by half steps. It's important to move the key around to fit the boy's pitch so that he will be successful. Notice how we keep saying the word success. Everything you do, you want to create success for one guy at least, maybe a lot more. For several teachers, discovering a boy's speaking pitch level is a prelude to singing a familiar song in the corresponding key. For example, sing one line of Jingle Bells, or one line of My Country 'Tis of Thee, or Rock Around the Clock, or some popular song that all the guys know. Notate the highest and lowest sung pitches as you listen while watching face and neck for signs of tension. Stop when a boy appears to be uncomfortable or straining. That's important. Be sure you're watching for when they are getting tense. While testing, say nothing to him about the tension you see. Remember to work on his problem in rehearsals when you do warm-ups. If his voice cracks, tell him it is simply a change of registers and is normal. This happens because there is a change in his vocal cords from one set of muscles to a different set. It's not a smooth change, but over a number of years, those boys will work at connecting the two sets through healthy vocal eases that you provide and good singing habits. When they finally find that the two sets of muscles begin working together. Some notes won't sound at certain stages the voice changes. Tell a boy that he may have a blank spot, a hole in his voice. He may make a big scene about it. That's okay. It's normal. The notes will come back and his range will increase. The part he sings won't stay the same. Tell him, Bill, I would like for you to sing a part that is comfortable for you. All boys go through this same change process, some slowly, some more rapidly. I'm glad you are so normal. Notice I use that word again to help you. A Texas teacher follows the discovery of a boy's speaking pitch and the singing of jingle bells with a descending pattern. So, do, on ma, moving down by half steps to find the lowest sung pitch. Then the boy sings a major triad on ma, moving up by half steps to find the highest comfortably sung note. That's Margaret Jordan of Pasadena, Texas. For experienced boys, she has them switch to ooh as they approach A major. That's just above middle C. This change to a closed vowel allows for a lighter weight approach to the often difficult passaggio. That's the Italian word for transition area. That's E flat 1, E1, F1, F sharp 1, just above middle C. Another Texas teacher uses the speaking voice for testing and classification without resorting to any singing. On the first day of school, he arranges boys by their speaking voices and labels them Group 1, Group 2, or 3. He uses TTB music primarily so it is easy for him to tell who should be singing the baritone part. Later, after vocalizing the boys, he listens to them individually to check ranges and find where their breaks occur. That's Scott Houston in Houston, Texas. Begin the process with singing. So now, those of you who are very comfortable with this process, you may already do this stuff. 1/2 of the master teachers begin with singing and use scalar vocalises. The standard 5-note descending scale pattern, sol, fa, mi, re, do, on oo or ah is a clear preference. One teacher begins on the C above middle C on oo, and has her guys sing a descending scalar pattern. That's Julie Emmons in Independence, Missouri. Wide-ranging sirens on oo across a boy's registers can be helpful for him in loosening up a guy that may be tense. Demonstrate for the boys or sing the siren with him. That's Marcia Sandman in Littleton, Colorado. An Oklahoma teacher asked the boys to match her pitch, higher than the boys normally speak, and in his upper register, and then work downward by half steps on oo, using an interval of a descending fifth. That's Jan Smith of Yukon, Oklahoma. If you use My Country 'Tis of Thee in B flat, starting pitch is B flat, boys singing in the upper octave are baritones. In the lower octave, they're baritones. Repeat the song. Starting pitch F, and unchanged boys' voices will sing the tune a fourth above middle C. With baritones having been placed, the remaining boys singing F below middle C are tenors or cambiados. That means changing voice, or whatever you choose. Maybe you use different names. You want to call them something else. I don't recommend calling boys sopranos because that's a girl thing. John Cooksey, a famous researcher that really did influence me a lot, developed this pattern for large group testing. Many boys may be hesitant to sing in the head voice at the beginning of the testing process. Therefore, it is a wise choice to start in the boy's comfortable zone, where he speaks. An Arkansas teacher solved the problem by having a boy sing a pitch, any pitch, for her. She then moves up and down from that pitch before having him sing My Country 'Tis of Thee in a comfortable key. That's Robin Yates in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Another teacher asked groups of 2 to 3 boys, 7th graders only, 8th grades have a different testing process, to vocalize a simple 5-note scale moving up and down on oo, beginning on G or F below middle C. That's Sherry Porter in Olathe, Kansas. It is important to find quickly a key that fits a boy's comfortable zone. To save time, some teachers use only a first phrase of a song to search for the boy's easy singing area. They then continue playing the song or vocalese 1/2 step lower until the boy's lowest sung note is reached. The process is reversed to find his highest comfortable sung note. Signs of strain in the neck and face will signal when to stop, especially if a boy is nervous. A Colorado teacher begins with a 5-note pattern, and then she moves immediately to a familiar song. Whoops, that was a guy. Greg Kennedy in Boulder, Colorado. Another teacher from the same state asked boys to sing from the top down and then sing a familiar song starting on a pitch of the boy's choice. That's Lynn Branford in Colorado Springs, Colorado. A humorous alternative is followed by the teacher who vocalizes the boys with descending scales and then has them do cat meows on a particular so-do pattern. That's Rita North in Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Vocalises at the beginning of the testing period are used not only for the obvious reason, establishing good singing habits and building healthy voices, for examples to demonstrate appropriate tone quality. And of course you know that you want to deal with tone quality pretty often. That's Margie Camp in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Now, what are some specific components of the test? Well, in the list below that I'm going to read to you, only note reading generated less than 60% of the teacher's votes. Master teachers are thorough, well organized, and efficient when they test and classify their guides. They have to be. You should be too. In order of importance, here are the components they test. The highest one is lowest sung note. That's 98% of the people. 93%, the highest sung note. 91%, the normal speaking pitch. 88% do the comfortable tessitura. Hearing ability, their ears. 86%. Quality of the sung sound, 83%. Vocation of register changes, 83%. Voice confidence and personality, 74%. And lastly, part in the choir each boy will sing, 71%. That should be helpful to you. Here's a particularly insightful comment about noting the attitude of students when they are testing and classifying voices. I asked boys and girls who were auditioning for honor choir what they would give themselves on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the best, for attitude towards singing. I found that these kids are very honest. This is one way to get them involved in the testing process during an audition. That's Julie Emmons in Independence, Missouri. It is especially important that each boy see the results of the testing. You want it stuck on the wall. In The Boy's Changing Voice, that book that Daryl and I did, the authors recommend that charts be placed on the wall. For some boys, that piece of paper with their name and details about their vocal growth may be the only public recognition that they ever receive. Think about that. Boys need to be told, you're special, you're wonderful. Put that information up there. That's me, this shy boy may tell one of his friends as they gaze at his voice chart. That boy will keep singing for you. How often to test? The master teachers were asked on average, how often do you test boys during a typical school year? The answers were fairly simple. Every 6 weeks, the most teachers. Every 8 weeks, 29% of the teachers. And once a semester, 48%. Not very many test only once a year because change happens when you least expect it. What to do immediately after the test? Show each boy the results on your chart, the keyboard, or a chalkboard. Discuss the part he will sing, notes to fake, octaves to sing above or below certain written pitches in the music. That's Karen Sims in Mays, Kansas. Tell him the part he sings will change as he grows. Thank him sincerely for singing for you. Be positive, no matter how shaky the boy appears to you. Smile at him. Look him in the eye. Deal with register changes. For many boys whose voices are changing, the voice that wavers or cracks is an embarrassment. For boys fortunate enough to have teachers who can offer practical help and encouragement through the sometimes dramatic change process, singing can be a big confidence builder and a stepping stone to greater self-knowledge. Prior to the onset of puberty, boys and girls' voices consist of 3 registers: the upper register, the middle register, and the lower register. According to Phillips, the pure lower voice, the chest register, is used only from middle C downward in unchanged voices. The pure upper voice begins an octave above middle C, C2, and extends upward. The middle voice is a combination of upper and lower and extends from C1 to C2. That's the octave above middle C. The octave immediately above middle C. As the boy enters adolescence, he begins to lose the ability to sing in his pure upper register, C2 to C3, as his range in the lower register begins to extend downward. However, boys should continue to exercise the head voice daily through sirens and downward scalar patterns. That's where you come in and can help tremendously. Until his voice is more settled in high school, a boy whose voice is changing should use only the upper voice from E1 to C2. That's the octave just above middle C. Phillips notes that the vocal production recommended for the pure upper register of the male changing voice is not a falsetto registration. The falsetto voice is a, quote, false voice, a product of strained vocal technique in which the larynx rises and cuts off the laryngeal resonator, resulting in a weak and unsupported sound. Every effort must be made to avoid falsetto singing. The pure upper voice in the male changing and changed voice will sound much like the prepubertal boy's voice in the octave from C2 to C3, the second octave above middle C. It will be fuller and freer than the falsetto sound. Excuse me. From middle C downward, boys with changing voices should use the pure chest voice. Phillips recommends that these boys use a two-register production for singing. The upper register begins at E1 just above middle C and moves upward to C2. The lower register begins at D1 and moves downward. It can be helpful both for you, the teacher, and the boy to know the transition areas where he may do an unexpected Tarzan call. It may surprise you and it will maybe surprise him. For a number of voice teachers of older singers, pinpointing the pitches at which register change is one method of determining a singer's type. For example, are you going to call them sopranos or tenor ones? Or a mezzo-soprano? Some boys don't care for calling them girl names. They don't want to be a girl, they want to be a guy. They may be a tenor or a baritone, a tenor 1 or a tenor 2. One passaggio transition area occurs around the pitches E1, F1, F sharp 1, and G1. The other is found in the vicinity of middle C. It's B, C1, C sharp 1, and D1. In any of the octaves above middle C, these pitches continue to be psychological points in which voices change to another register. For junior high, middle school boys, teachers can listen for register changes in the vicinity of C1, middle C. For baritones, or basses, if that is the preferred term, for a register shift can be expected in the vicinity of F1, above middle C. Tenor or cambiata may be an appropriate term for these singers. Where the change occurs may vary with the individual boy and his stage of development. The Colorado teacher uses a downward scale from A1, just above middle C, to the pitch A, immediately below middle C, on the U vowel with cambiata voices and new baritones to note register shifts and to help boys bridge this challenging area. That's Rebecca Shelley in Fort Collins, Colorado. What about having students classify themselves? That's what I used to try in some workshops, and it would work very well. In a choral program where large numbers of students are involved, one teacher has developed an alternate means of testing because no time is available for individual testing. I'll bet you find that to be true, don't you? We warm up together and I talk about range, quality, and tessitura. The students then classify themselves. After a few days of rehearsal, during which I get into their space and listen to each boy as we sing together or in smaller groups, I reclassify those who didn't choose the best part themselves. A New Mexico teacher also has students classify themselves by approach, but approaches the process differently. With beginning students, I spend the first several days teaching a simple two-part song. Everyone learns both parts, and I just listen. When the parts are learned and it's time to put them together, I let the boys choose which part feels most comfortable for them. That's really smart, isn't it? Then I spend several days asking 6 to 8 boys at a time to sing the same part as a means of testing their voices. I use 5-note scale passages to find range extremes. That's Virginia Morrison in Clovis, New Mexico. Teachers also trust other adults to test their boys. Does this surprise you? Not me. This year, I had a parent do the individual testing to determine ranges and ability to match pitch. I had the parent use a descending 5-note scale for the low end and a staccato 1-3-5-3-1 to test the high end. That's Shelley Andes in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I need to learn to pronounce words, don't you think? What about the girls? See, nothing has been said so far, but here you'll hear it. Half of the participating master teachers do not allow girls in the room when testing boys. More than a third say that they sometimes have girls in the room. Boys are much more relaxed without girls present. They are more willing to try what I ask without fear of being laughed at by the girls. That's Kelly Batt in Kirkwood, Missouri. The confidence factor is important when working with these emerging adults. Boys need to build confidence in singing before being placed on display in front of girls. That's Susan Ayler. She's in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Unless you, the teacher, are comfortable with having girls present during testing of the boys, follow the advice offered above. The author prefers testing boys separately from testing the girls or having the girls listen. If you have only a mixed chorus, time will allow for this testing. I think it is more important to develop a supportive atmosphere so that boys and girls feel comfortable singing and will take risks when they are not sure what's going to come out of these months. Sometimes I am able to do sectionals. And that is when I get to address risk-taking and some of the embarrassing things that can happen with boys. That's Margie Kemp in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Making girls as well as boys aware of what's happening with boys changing voices is crucial in the minds of more than a third of the master teachers. Both sexes must come to realize that singing is a natural process. We study the changing voice and help each other through it. Girls' and boys' voices change. They share this process in varying degrees. Maturity attacks happen. I think that's an interesting phrase. We laugh with each other and encourage each other. I always consider the individual first, just how big a risk he is taking by being tested in front of others, especially girls. That's Rebecca Shelley in Fort Collins, Colorado. It is important to me to establish a classroom atmosphere in which everyone understands that boys who sing are absolutely normal. Every day, it's very normal. It's an everyday thing. That's Danielle Miller in Lawrence, Kansas. My boys like to get attention. We make it a big deal when a voice is changing. The girls enjoy listening and even having fun during the whole process. That's Greg Bontrager in Gossel, Kansas. Other creative ways to test boys when girls are present make sense too. Even though I listen to individual voices, I call boys up in groups of 5 and use them to teach each other. I usually don't have problems with boys being terribly embarrassed. That's Bonnie Cheney in Lee's Summit, Missouri. Teacher awareness of a boy's mental state is important. If I feel the boy is intimidated, I will test privately. But usually, it's not a problem. That's Robin Yates in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It really depends on the boy. I try to get all of the students accustomed to being tested alone or in small groups, while the rest of the class is working on other assignments. That's Shelley Andes in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A teacher's philosophical perspective makes all the difference in whether or not boys are tested when girls are present. When a teacher believes that girls should learn from and appreciate what is happening to boys, and that boys also learn from girls' challenges in singing, boys and girls can be in the same room without when testing takes place. Your attitude and your approach will determine what you do. Be wise. Know yourself before you begin the testing process. Now, what are my recommendations I've talked about here for a long time? Create an atmosphere that makes boys feel comfortable and welcome in your room. Test boys in groups of 2 or 3 to break the ice. Test one-on-one only when a boy can handle the situation. Plan for success. Have boys speak their names or siren loudly on ooh or ah, loud, low to high and back, or do lip buzzes with sirens to relieve tension. Lip buzzes activate the breath. If a boy is nervous, ask him to speak his name or say hello to find his normal speaking pitch target area. Use the piano to find that pitch if you don't have perfect pitch. In full view of everyone, put the speaking pitch on a staff next to a chart showing the various categories you use. Be sure all the boys can see it. As a temporary measure, label his voice category based on the lowest note he sings, knowing that a boy's speaking pitch is 3 or 4 half steps above his lowest singing pitch. You know, when I used to go around the country doing workshops with junior high kids, when I would get there early, I would just walk amongst the kids listening to the boys, because you could learn a lot from hearing boys speak. Some speak high, some speak low. After he is more comfortable singing, check his upper range using a scalar pattern, like so, fa, mi, re, do, or ooh, beginning in a comfortable tessitura. If a boy seems confident, ask him to sing a simple scalar pattern on La. Do, re, mi, re, do, or so, fa, mi, re, do, in a comfortable range, his comfort zone. Have him and other boys who are listening attentively and looking at a chart you have devised, let them help decide what category is best for now. Once I had gotten used to testing boys' voices after a couple of years, I did that rather often. Have the boys involved. Have boys face you and away from the class while you move down the keyboard by chromatic half steps. After finding the lowest sung pitch, then move up by half steps. Tell boys that some notes might not come out, and there may be a temporary blank spot, a hole, because their voices are changing. It's normal. There's that word again, normal. Boys need to hear it all the time. Keep your attention focused on the boy. Any tension in his neck or jaw. Lowest and highest note comfortably sung. Speaking pitch. Comfortable tessitura. Hearing ability. That's kind of important, is it? Hearing ability. The quality of his voice. Is it a nice warm sound, or is it real bright, like you might get from some country singers? You have to help them in a nice way learn to sing with new vowels. It's not going to sound like this. I'm from Oklahoma, you can tell. And location of register changes. Make notes on a grid for all the boys to see as you proceed. Place lowest and highest notes sung on a large chart on the wall. Be sure you have this chart. Change to a familiar song like My Country's Thee, Country 'Tis of Thee, or Jingle Bells. If a boy might respond better, use only the first phrase to save time. For the first session of testing, go no higher in pitch. When a boy is struggling to reach pitches, you'll see the tension in their neck and faces. Show the boy the category you think is best for him, or ask him his opinion of what he's looking at when he's looking at a chart of the categories you use, and you place a note head indicating his highest and lowest sung pitches. Tell him which pitches to fake in the music. Remember, sometimes the guy can't sing certain pitches. They're just not in his range. That's where he fakes it. Explain to him that his voice will continue to grow and change. Other pitches will be possible as he grows. Be genuine, encourage, compliment whenever possible, smile lots, say thanks, move quickly to the next boy. If you are hesitant about having girls present when boys are tested, test boys separately. I went to one place where we had the testing in the gymnasium, this huge room with only a few boys, rather than be in the choir room where girls were there, and the teacher I thought it was not a good idea, and so she agreed, test boys somewhere else. Welcome girls into your room during testing under the following conditions. You have developed a supportive atmosphere where girls and guys in your choirs respect each other. Singing has become accepted as a normal activity. They understand that moving across registers can cause weird noises. We call them breaks. They know the change from one voice category to another is to be expected, from cambiata to baritone. Position the boys between you and the girls, facing you at the keyboard. Controlling student interaction can be helpful during this potentially tense time for some guys. Using staff paper, construct a grid with boys' names down the left side, right at the edge, and columns across the top with room for the following information. You write this on each sheet, or write one sheet and have it duplicated. Lowest sung note, highest sung pitch, normal speaking pitch, comfortable tessitura, quality of the sound, voice category, or the part sung. And here's where you can say exceptional, or call them good or low. Don't write anything that says bad. That's not good. Confidence, personality. Sometimes you need to know who those people are. They may be your leaders. Add any other information you feel would be helpful. On a wall in the rehearsal room, make a chart showing each boy's name with his highest and lowest note sung and his voice category or part sung in choir. Update this wall chart whenever changes occur in any boy's voice. Test each 8 or 9 weeks, I believe, if it's possible. Test at least once a semester, I believe. Listen to a boy speaking and changing voice in informal as well as formal settings. Note even the subtle changes in speaking voices. Ask the boys to listen to each other for hints of change. For instance, breathiness. Show sincere interest in boys and the changes through which they pass. They are sometimes difficult for the boys. Changes will continue until the guys are in their 20s. That's a long time. Now I'm going to talk about another book that I wrote. It's called Maintaining Boys' Interest in Singing. Don't you think that's also important? Once you know your boys well, you want to keep them with you, don't you? So this is published. It's by permission. I've used this material with my own permission. So, the first rehearsal of the semester, use upbeat music, not that slow stuff. Be highly organized rehearsal. Create a highly organized rehearsal. Tell guys your goals. Use very few words. Have a positive atmosphere. Treat the guys like adults. They think they are adults. Very little talk, lots of singing. Having high expectations doesn't mean you're being so serious that you take away the fun of being in choir. Offer rewards to those who bring a friend. Have something available that they can eat. They're always hungry. The music must not embarrass the guys. Be sure you look at the text really carefully of all your music. Music rehearsals must be structured so that the guys feel successful every day. The quality and variety in the music are really important. Be demanding, yet have fun rehearsals. Choosing music is really, really important, I think. Fit music to the boys' ranges and voice types. The music must challenge them to grow, both musically and through understanding the text. Include, you know what I do when I go work with a choir? I preach to them about what I think is important in life. You don't have long speeches. You just say phrases like, life is about loving everybody, and then stop. Include various styles of the music. Err on the side of high energy. Match music to boys' skill levels. Recruit a guitar player or a singer and feature that girl or that guy in one of your concerts in the fall, maybe in the spring. Combine boys with middle and high school, all classes, into a male chorus. Think about that. I loved having a male chorus at my first college job, and we named ourselves Männerchor. Männer is the German word for men's chorus. And boy, we didn't necessarily have the best singers. We just loved to entertain. Have a contest in which the guys choose the name of the group with your help. Find music that is energetic, strong, and especially text-worthy. Sing at public events. Even outside, it's not ideal, but it's really fun for guys. Never have downtime. Always have a goal. Rehearse mostly as a boys' ensemble, but also plan activities with girls in an SATB situation. One piece in a semester. The girls will love it and the guys will love it too. Start a boys' ensemble, a doo-wop group, a country quartet. The Blues Boys. Call a group the Blues Boys and let them sing some blues. Plan year-end performances for nursing homes. You know, I love going to nursing homes, and taking boys there gives those residents a sense of joy. They see it. They see love. and they start smiling more. Use choreography tastefully if you use it at all. Plan fun social activities, lock-ins, scavenger hunts, things like that. We did that in the first high school I taught in. Was my very first job. I wasn't sure I knew what I was doing as a teacher, but I know that when we had get-togethers, it was fun. I got to see the students in a different light. Limit the embarrassing moments. Keep a sense of humor always. Explain everything that's happening during voice change so that the guys understand and will grow as individuals. Let guys know it's okay to make mistakes. Don't be such a bear about, you made one mistake this year. The guy will remember that phrase, but he won't remember the music. Work hard. Strive for excellence. You can do it at every level. Be enthusiastic. Be positive. Be passionate about teaching and working with guys. Teach them to read music notation. Start where they are and move forward. Don't start where you are as a music reading person. Start where they are. Teach sound before symbol. That's Edwin Gordon's music learning theory. Edwin Gordon is a very important influence on many of us. Show interest in their world, their likes and dislikes, their struggles. Be genuine. Remember, smile lots. Teach healthy voice building that gives boys confidence. Teach boys something new every time they rehearse. Teach sight reading. Start simply. If you want to use solfege, do it. Just start out singing do, re, and then do, re, mi. They'll pick up on it pretty quickly. Create an esprit de corps in which boys learn to work together. Set goals and enjoy the fruits of their efforts. Maintain a sense of humor. Boy, that's important. Have some wiggle room. Create success. Find opportunities to stand out. Find possibilities for boys being stars. They will love it. It's good for them, isn't it? Especially boys who have low self-esteem. You'll see that in some of your guys. That is both individually and in groups. Make it evident that you really enjoy boys. If you don't like working with boys, find another job where you work only with girls. Be a fun-loving but serious-minded director who constantly affirms boys' musicianship and their maleness. Keep the program demanding, fast-paced, and fun. Keep rehearsals snappy, upbeat. Be careful about slow tempos. They will slow down the thinking of your fellows, I think. Well, I got it. There are two major factors you need to be aware of that I've talked about, one way or another. Your personal qualities, your musical abilities, and your teaching style. Those are very, very important. And the last thing is the choice, breadth, and quality of the music you choose. You are the key. Your attitude, your resourcefulness, your choice of music, your rehearsal atmosphere, your classroom management style. You know, when I started off teaching my first year, I was miserable because all the kids were talking all the time. They were blowing, it was crazy. And I nearly got fired because I didn't know how to control the kids. So if you're having troubles, get some help. You're a resilient person. And I think you should really take it seriously. Now we're finished. That's the end of the session. I'm going to do one more thing, but I've got to tell you that there will be 3 things on the website that you can look for. This is a list of 21 songs. One of my former students, who is a really wonderful teacher, music teacher, he picked a whole lot of songs, and I picked half a dozen, I think. That is music that will have success for your boys. This list will be somewhere on the website. Second thing you will find on the website is a listing of the various ranges that boys go through when they're changing voice. And the last thing I'm going to show you right now is a really fun song that I learned from one of the teachers that I read her name. I hope she's listening. I don't know, maybe she retired. Anyway, this song is called Oh Mrs. Shady. And I'm going to play it and sing it even though my voice is kind of worn out. Thank you very much. This song and maybe others in different keys. Oops, I got it put in the wrong key. No, I didn't. Mrs. Shady, she was a lady. She had a daughter whom I adored. I went to court her, I mean her daughter, every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4:30. I'll do it once again in case you missed it. Of course, you can always search for this. I searched for it just to see if I could find it, and it's online. And some male chorus is singing it, so you don't have to wait to see the music. You can just pick it up. This is Shady, she was a lady. She had a daughter whom I adored. I went to court her, I mean her daughter, every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4:30. Amen. Well, thank you. I've enjoyed this. I hope you got some ideas. Goodbye.